very critical of Caesar. Tom Wright talks about the language of give back. He points to echoes of that, having almost sort of payback sort of sense, but certainly in the sense of, well, it's his, he claims, what are you doing with it? Possibly even, it's interesting, he's asked to bring this coin, and for a Jew to have a coin that's basically an idolatrous thing, isn't it? It's an image claiming to be an image of the divine Caesar. So, he's quite clearly being critical of Caesar, and he's been critical of his claims. He is not God, because he is distinguished from God. You give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, you give to God what is God's. And again, in the context, of the way Mark tells it about the parable of the tenants and the vineyard, I think there are all sorts of echoes there about not giving to God what is God's. That makes sense in the light of the way in which the tenants have behaved in the previous parable in the beginning of Mark chapter 12. So there are all sorts of differences still of interpretation about this among scholars, but the key points are Caesar is not God, Caesar's realm is limited. There's a sense in which you shouldn't be participating in this whole realm to the extent that you are. It means you've got to ask this question. You are carrying around idolatrous coins. And the key thing is that we are called to give God what is God's. And, we might think obviously about who or what bears the image of God. Jesus asks the question, they brought the coin, he says, whose portrait is this? Whose inscription is it? And there are some have seen there echoes of human beings as those who really are those who bear the image of the true God. So there's a number of interesting ways in which one could interpret and apply this. The fundamental thing, I think, is we mustn't think of it sort of marking out a particular realm of life that we leave over to Caesar, and God doesn't have any say and involvement in. That would be against the whole strand that we've seen of the Old Testament teaching, and would not have been a way of getting out of the trap. So that's the saying, render to Caesar, but as I said, we mustn't look at that only. We must set it in the context